Hello, Cass County 4-H community. My name is Lauren Stolman. I am the 4-H extension educator in Cass County. I wanted to take this opportunity to talk to you about the livestock requirements that Cass County 4-H has in place in order for 4-Hers to show at our county fair every year. I wanted to do this because I know that we have certain deadlines in place. Some of them might run into each other. Some of them you might not be sure which is which and what you have to have, and there's different websites and different logins. So my hope is that by the end of this, you will have a little bit more clear understanding of how to approach this, what you need to have to do so, and how exactly you get it done. Before we get started, I wanted to talk a little bit about the lingo or the different phrases that you might hear if you're a new 4-Her or if you're a veteran even and want a refresher. Here's a few terms that I'll use throughout this presentation. The ID sheets, the livestock affidavit identification sheets, think of them as a sheet in which you are listing the animals that you potentially could show at the fair. It's what you're going to choose from. Maybe there are 10 heifers that you think are fantastic, but you haven't quite narrowed down which ones you want to show. So you have the opportunity to make sure that you at least get them on the record that these are the ones I'm choosing from. And then later you will have to make a decision which ones you will indeed show at the fair. A premise ID is where the livestock are housed. This is something set in place by the USDA. If you don't have a premise ID, you can access one or request one with the USDA. That can be done online. You just have to send in certain information and they will assign you a premise ID. Again, this is just to make sure we know where livestock are housed, because in a coordination with the EID or the electronic identification, this is a 15-digit number tag that is unique to the animal. So if it happens to be that we have to find out where a certain steer was at and where it's located because of whatever reason, it can use the premise ID and the EID tag to pinpoint exactly where that animal is located. A scrapies tag is similar to an EID tag that might be used for cattle and beef or cattle and swine, but scrapies tags is for market sheep, breeding sheep, market goats, and breeding goats. The first deadline I want you to keep in mind is that the ID sheets are due June 15th. And this is a little bit different this year, so we will accept them a variety of ways. You can either complete them online or print them off and fill them out and email it to me. You can mail it to our office. You can put it in our Dropbox after hours or even during hours. And then you can stop by and see us drop them off. Our office is open to the public at this moment. We still have social distancing requirements set in place, but you are welcome to stop by and see us and bring them in. ID sheets look a little bit different depending on the department and the division. So we're going to talk about what you need to have in order to fill these out completely, make sure that you have all your ducks in a row. So here we go. For the beef ID sheets with a feeder calf, you need to make sure that you have the EID tag or a herd tag number. That is because EID tag is only required for state fair. You can use a herd tag number that you might already have in your animal. But EID tag is required for state fair. You can purchase those from our office for $2. In the additional information column at the very right hand of the ID sheet, you will see you can list the breed of your feeder calf. You will also need to include the premise ID. For a 4-H age bucket calf, so those 4-Hers aged 8 to 11, have to include the EID tag or herd tag number. You also need to remember that on the day of the show, you have to bring along with you a record book of your bucket calf. Because this project, the hope is that this is something 4-Hers can start with and kind of learn a little bit more about beef production. And so that is why we have those due the day of the show. The judges can take a look at them, we can take a look at them, and I'll show you a little bit later where you can find that resource. You also have to include premise ID. You will also need to list the sex of the animal because no bulls are allowed at the county fair, at the Cass County Fair, for both 4-H age bucket calf and Clover Kid bucket calf. For a Clover Kid bucket calf ID sheet, you can use the bucket calf ID sheet that we just talked about or the feeder calf ID sheet as long as you identify that it is a Clover Kid bucket calf. You need to include the tag number, the premise ID. You can list the breed in the additional information column, and again, making sure that you list the sex, no bulls are allowed. Continuing on with beef department, breeding heifers need EID tag or a tattoo number because a lot of breeding heifers have tattoos, a registration number if the animal is registered, and registration papers are due the day of the show. You need to also include the premise ID on the ID sheet. For market beef, you need the EID tag or herd tag number. And if you were at the Cass County weigh-in in December, this past winter, you will need to, you will have already had the weight listed on your ID sheet. And this is only if you are competing for the rate of gain and you hope to receive a rate of gain premium. For cow-calf ID sheet, you need to have the herd tag or tattoo number of the cow and the tag number of the calf. You'll need to have the birth dates of both as well as the breed. For the swine ID sheets, market swine, you will need an EID tag or herd tag number. You need to include the notch numbers in addition with a sketch of the animal, the breed, and the premise ID. Dairy cattle require the breed, a sketch of the animal with any markings that you might have that are visible on the animal, tattoo or tag number, and a registration number if the animal is registered. Dairy goats require a sketch, a herd tag or tattoo, a registration number if they're registered, and you are welcome to include the breed on that ID sheet as well. Meat and other goat ID sheets. For a market meat goat, you need to include the scrapies tag and the premise ID. Other goat, you are welcome to use the meat market goat ID sheet as long as you identify in there that it is other goat, so making sure you list the breed of it, the scrapies tag, and the premise ID. Horse ID sheets are normally due May 8th, and that is because district shows happen early on. They were canceled this year, so we have pushed that deadline back for horse ID sheets to June 15th, in addition with all the other livestock. Horse required name of horse, registration number, the breed, colors, height, sketch, and a picture. Sheep ID sheets for market sheep, you need a scrapies tag and a premise ID. Breeding ewe, you need a scrapies tag, herd tag, and a tag or a tattoo. Registration number if the animal is registered, and a premise ID. Rabbit require a breed, tattoo number of the rabbit, and color. We currently do not have an ID sheet for poultry. However, it is important to keep in mind that on the day of the show, when filling out the entry form, breed will need to be included, so just to have that information on the day of the show. Regardless of the species, the department, the division, all ID sheets will require similar things. So the name and the 4-H age. So remember, that's the age of the 4-H'er as of December 31st, that previous year. So in this case, 2019. You can also list multiple 4-H'ers names on the same family. And that is because if you have 10 heifers that you're choosing from, you don't know which of your children are going to show whichever animal. That way you make sure that you at least have all of those on there, and it won't be till that July 15th when you say, yep, Sally's showing this one, Steve is showing this one, and Sam is showing this one. You have to include the club that the 4-H'er is involved in, the county, birth date of the animal, the sex of the animal, the 4-H'er's signature, all of them if you have multiple 4-H'ers listed, and the parent address and the signature. This is an example of one that I've filled out. So you'll see it's all filled out with last name, first name, parentheses is the 4-H age in there. Beautiful Bovines is the club that I made up in Cass County. I included the date the animal was born, the EID tag, the premise ID, and my heifer is registered. So I included the registration number there. Bottom left, you'll see the signature of all of the 4-H'ers, and the parent address is directly next to that. As I've said over and over, ID sheets are due June 15th, and like I said earlier, you can email them to me. You are welcome to mail them to our office at this address. You can also find that address on our website. You can stick it in our drop box that's outside our front door on the south side of the building, or you can come in and see us. Now I'd like to take the opportunity to show you where you can find that information. So if you visit our Cass County 4-H website, you'll see here Nebraska Extension and Cass County. You'll see Cass County 4-H. You can hover over that, scroll down to Fair Resources. You'll see a bunch of different resources that are very helpful to you, so I would encourage you to look at this website. However, right now, we're talking about ID sheets, so you'll find this information and forms due June 15th. You'll see again a list of these here. Livestock affidavit identification sheets. And you'll see we have here all of the PDFs of all of the department's divisions here, and you can click them and you will be able to fill it in as you'd like. If that's the way you would like to do it, fill it in that way and save it and email it to me. You are also welcome to print it and scan it that way or mail it or however you choose. So these are available to you on this website. I'd also like to take a moment to show you, as I said earlier, the bucket calf record books. So similar to where you find the ID sheets, just a little bit further on information and forms due. You'll see 4-H bucket calf record book, turn in the day of the show. And again, a fillable form that you can fill out. You'll be able to do it the exact same way as you did with the ID sheets. Additional livestock requirements to keep in mind, also on that June 15th deadline, is that the YQCA certificate is due to us. If you are unfamiliar or if you're new, YQCA is a national multi-species quality assurance program. 4-H'ers learn about food safety, animal well-being, and character development. They have to have this prior to being able to show at the fair, so we have to have that certificate. Any 4-H'ers that are exhibiting beef, swine, sheep, dairy cattle, dairy goats, meat goats, poultry, or rabbits have to complete the annual training. It can be completed in person or at a scheduled YQCA training if the office is hosting. This year, we only were able to host one prior to COVID and having to close our office. Normally, that cost every other year is $3 in person. It is $12 to complete the online training. That's 2 to 3 hours of training, and you complete a quiz at the end. So the perk with this is that the in-person is less money and the 4-H'ers aren't expected to complete a quiz. This year, we have to offer it online. There are no more opportunities for in-person. And the 4-H Council graciously voted to offer free training this year. So please be sure to, if you haven't yet, contact Tammy Kavanaugh in our office and she'll be able to give you that free coupon code. And once you have that, you will see this YQCA free training code. You'll see her email address here, help instructions for how you do it, visiting the YQCA login page. Mine looks a little different because I'm an instructor, but when you do that, you'll see all of the choices. You'll want to pick the training that fits your 4-H'er's age, the requirements that they have. They might have already completed some, so then it'll automatically show you which one they have up next. Horse advancement levels are again normally due May 8th every year. We've pushed that back with everything happening. It's normally May 8th, like I said, because of district shows. So for horse advancement level testing this year, you have to complete an online quiz, and then you also have to submit virtual skills testing, and you can contact me for that. You have to contact me to get the quiz as well as a folder to upload a video. That is due if you're competing at state on June 8th, and if you're competing at county only, it'll be July 8th. And that is so we have plenty of time before June 15th or July 15th to get that to the appropriate people to say, yep, Sally can show her horse in this, this show. At the county level, so Cass County specific, 4-H'ers have to pass the following levels to enter corresponding events. So level 1 to enter any of the events, and level 2 to enter ranch riding. If you have questions about maybe what level you're on, that can be found on 4-H Online. You can also contact our office and we will be able to find that for you. Additional livestock requirements to keep in mind is that July 15th, all livestock must be entered on ShowWorks. That is our online pre-registration website. A video will come of, I will kind of talk a little bit about how to work that website. That is the animals that you are picking from that ID sheet saying, yep, these are the 2 that I'm showing here, and this is the 3 that I'm showing here. And that's where you do that. Something also to keep in mind for July 15th deadline is that stall forms for livestock have to be submitted to the office. This will include listing how many animals, how many 4-H'ers, the club you're involved in. Depending on the species, you might need to purchase wood chips. I know that clubs often might do this together, and you might not if you're independent. You'll just want to make sure you submit that. And they might look a little different this year depending on what happens, and updates will come. State fair has different requirements than county fair. It's important to keep this in mind because similar to how we do it at county level, you have to nominate your animals, and you do that on a website called Showstock Manager. Here you'll see a graphic of the project area with the nomination requirements expected because they're different for every project. The due date is normally June 15th. They've pushed that back to July 1 this year. But you have to go online and submit your animals to be nominated, because once you nominate them, I will go in and I will say, yep, Jeff is good to do this, and Jerry for this, and oh, I don't quite have this DNA envelope. So then I'll contact you and make sure that I'll get that. So just make sure that you follow these nomination requirements to compete at State Fair. And now I'd like to show you another website that's very helpful for State Fair. So this is specific to State Fair livestock show. This is the livestock identification, so identification and nomination requirements. Maybe. Oh, here we go. Sorry about that. I have too many tabs pulled up right now. Livestock identification for State Fair. You can find here that handy dandy graphic that I showed you, including the due date. It also explains your responsibilities, my responsibilities, making sure that we're all in the know. Step-by-step nominations instruction for the Showstock Manager website. This also includes collection data or sample collection instructions for how to do it. If you were at the beef weigh-in in December, this has already been completed for you. But any other species, or if you have additional ones that you'd like to nominate, you have to obtain a DNA envelope. We have those in our office if you haven't gotten those yet. You need to both nominate on Showstock Manager, and in order for me to accept your nomination, I have to have the DNA envelope in my hand. So just make sure you stop in and get that. There's no cost when you pick up the DNA envelope. You will pay for everything online on Showstock. And if you have any more questions about that, please don't hesitate to contact me. As I said, they're required for all market animals, normally due June 15th, but this year it is due July 1. Hopefully now you feel a little bit more confident, more comfortable in what you have to have prepared in order to show at county fair as well as State Fair. If you have any other questions, or if something I said still isn't clear, please contact me. Don't hesitate to contact me. This is my email. This is our office phone number. I would be happy to help you any way that I possibly can. Thank you for tuning in. And like I said, I hope that you gained something from this and learned a little bit more. Thank you.